It's Tuesday and it's time for Falcon Focus. Hello, welcome to Falcon Focus, presented by Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin. It's episode number 14 here in season number 5. My name is Matt Menzel. A quick reminder that after this spring break, we'll be back with you for Falcon Focus on the 19th of March. But up first here on this edition, our focus in segment number 2 will be on men's volleyball. They have a 2-match week coming up, which includes a home date here inside the John Book Fieldhouse on Thursday versus Concordia Chicago. We'll be joined by one of their seniors, opposite hitter, that being Spencer Herman. But up first, the wrestling team getting ready for regionals up in Stevens Point and being joined by senior Jonathan Poland. John, kind of to join us. Let's talk about your wrestling background and how you got started in the sport of wrestling.
Yeah, so I've been wrestling since I was in about 4th or 5th grade, and I actually started because my cousin, Colin Glascott, his parents had like talking to my dad, and he's like, hey, there's this sport wrestling. Do you guys want to try it out? And we went over there, and we had those goofy headgears, like the green ones, real back in the day, real old school. And we ended up going over there to this place called the Forest Wrestling Club in Illinois. And ever since then, we just fell in love with it, me and my younger brother, Jeremy, who I also wrestle with. And I've been doing this forever since. And it's funny how the sport works is like you do it for so long, and somehow it always yanks you back to it. And for me, that happened. I wrestled all the way to my senior year. I took 2 years off to go play college football somewhere else. And somehow 4 years later, after graduating high school, I came right back last year. And, here we are still wrestling. So.
And we'll talk all about this as we go along. But in high school, football and wrestling are 2 sports. Did you try any other sports growing up?
I've done everything. I played a lot of soccer. I played a little bit of baseball. Some of those were a little too slow to me. I always loved the physicality of sports. And from there on, it just wrestling and football always took over. And, it's just the 2 main things that have stuck and have taught me the most throughout life. So happy with those 2.
And you have 3 brothers. You mentioned Jeremy, who's also part of the wrestling team. Where do you rank among the brothers? Are you the oldest?
No, I'm the second oldest. Yeah, I have an older brother here who also lives here. He's a travel nurse and everything. And then we have one youngest one, Justin, who lives back at home with my dad.
So how competitive was the Poland household?
It was always really competitive. The worst was, like, it's funny, it's me and Jeremy. We've always been going at it when you're younger. We always just wrestling at the house, just taking each other's heads off, making each other cry a little bit and everything. But, yeah, having 3 brothers, it's like, whew, here we go. And it's funny, my dad's girlfriend, Nicole, also has 4 more kids. So you introduce them to the house now, too, and there's like 8 kids just going all at each other all the time. So it's fun.
Never a dull moment.
No.
Well, how special is it for you to be here at Concordia, being on the same wrestling team with your brother?
It's super special. It's one of the main things is I always talked to him last year because he took a year off from wrestling JUCO because he just had a bunch of surgeries and stuff. A bunch of injuries. And he was kind of taking a year off in Chicago and everything. And my dad was talking to me about, hey, get your brother back, And remember, he gave me a call, my dad, and I was driving back from a softball game in the summer. He's like, hey, Jeremy wants to think he's thinking about wrestling again. So as soon as I hung up, I called him up. I was like, hey, come wrestle me, come wrestle me. He's like, all right, I'll be there. And literally like a week later, he's with me. So it's amazing, having family around and everything. Like I said, I'm blessed to wrestle with my younger brother, and I was also blessed to play college football with my older brother. So it's a pretty sweet thing to have around.
And you look with Jeremy at 165 pounds. He's compiled a record so far of 14-4. He was named the CCIW Wrestling Athlete of the Week in mid-January. Obviously, you're focused on your particular matches, but what have you seen from Jeremy? What made his season so successful?
Yeah, so Jeremy has always been. I always say Jeremy's the rest of the group. I mean, I'm there too, but Jeremy's just always really excelled at the sport. He's always worked super hard and everything, and he's always had success from a super young age. And coming back, after taking a year off, sometimes things can be a little difficult, and I understand that because I had taken the 4. And throughout the year, he's just little by little, technique and getting back into the groove of things. And it also helps that he's around my weight, so I get to wrestle with him a little bit. We have Cole Ramos, who he gets to wrestle with, Carson Cook, and being able to have those guys, especially Coach Cook as well, it allows you to kind of grow as a wrestler and come back faster than you think you would. But I will say Jeremy has a lot of hurdles he's overcame, a lot of injuries. He hasn't wrestled the full matches that we have, but throughout it all, that kid can just step on the mat and perform, and he does it every single time. So it's pretty cool to watch.
Absolutely, and again, that record indicates just that, the fact that even with some of the obstacles, 14-4, a heck of a campaign. Back in high school, he was a state qualifier. You were a state qualifier in wrestling as well, a 4th place finisher. What do you remember about those experiences being at state?
Yeah, so State was pretty cool. I going in my senior year was just that last year. Let's have a little bit of fun, no pressure or anything like that. And I never made it past. I don't think I ever made it past regionals until my senior year. And I finally everything kind of clicked that year. And going into it, I took second at regionals, and then sectionals. I was in the match, and I had some really tough ones. And you win the one in the quarterfinals, and then in the semifinals. And I remember finally winning that, and then afterwards, instantly got up and I went to go hug my brother, hug my dad. It's a good feeling. And then you're at state, and it's like, hey, I'm here. Let's see what happens. And I was going out, pinning like the number 6 guy right away, and then wrestled another one, beat him pretty good, and ended up losing the semifinals. Won my last one, got in, and it's a euphoric feeling to finally get to where you work so hard to be. And hopefully, that same season it's kind of going on the same track. It's funny as this season is going for me, and hopefully I can end it in the same fashion as I did then. So.
Well, did I read your senior year you won 35 consecutive matches at one point?
Yeah. So my senior year, I had lost 2 matches in a row at Barrington, which is one of the tougher tournaments to start off the year. And after that, it just, like I said, everything just clicked, and boom, 35 in a row, and didn't end up losing until regionals. And even those losses that I did lose were good at that point because it taught me, like, hey, you need to fix this, fix that, and which propelled me going into state and ended up finishing 4th. So, but yeah, 35 was pretty cool.
So the streak was a lie. Did you know, hey, this is my 21st, this is my 24th? Did you know the number, or did it just kind of come to an end and went, wow, 35 straight?
Yeah, honestly, I didn't even realize, and I didn't know until my coach told me at the end of the season. He's like, hey, did you know you won 35 matches in a row? I was like, oh, really? I was like, oh, that's pretty sweet.
So no real pressure.
No.
Essentially. You just went out there and did your thing.
Yep.
You mentioned, okay, so even despite all the success in wrestling, from a college standpoint, you initially started off playing football. Why did you go the football route versus wrestling?
Yeah, so going into my senior year, even state and stuff, I was already committed to St. Francis in Illinois, and that's because my older brother, Jacob, was playing there, and I just wanted to play with my older brother. The school had a good program with school and everything, but just mainly thing was like, hey, I'm going to go play football with my older brother. And I just ended up going. My freshman year, I redshirted, and the second year I ended up playing the whole season at safety and corner. And I love the sport and everything, but I do remember once Jacob had graduated, I was kind of sitting there, and it was that COVID year, so it was a little weird too. And I remember sitting there, and I was like, man, do I really love this sport? Do I really want to do it? And that's when I was like, oh, wrestling's back, because my brother he just graduated, and he was going to wrestle at JJC. So I was like, this is like the perfect time to make that little switch. And then I just talked to my coach, and he was really okay with it, and he understood, So then I had to make that switch and ended up going to JDC route. Got a little confused with COVID and, all times and stuff like that. But ended up finally finding this place with Coach Cook and ended up being a perfect fit. So.
Yeah, from a football standpoint, that year you played as a safety and a corner, number 2 on the team in tackles. So you mentioned, okay, you end up finding Concordia. What made this the perfect fit for you?
Yeah, so the reason I found Concordia was I was living in Milwaukee for a year. I took like this weird gap year and was at Marquette for a little bit, but I really missed the competitiveness of sports. And I remember looking around the area. I was like, I like this area a lot. I want to stay in it. But, like, where's the wrestling teams? And there was MSUE or Concordia. And Concordia had, like, success, specifically, like, Jack O'Donnell in the past years. Mm-hmm. And I saw them, and I was just like, hey, you know what? This is the team where I want to go. It's a little outside of Milwaukee. Kind of keeps you focused on school and whatnot. And so I just hit up Coach right away. He responded in, like, I'm talking like 6 hours, so fast, like instantly. It was pretty cool. Called me up and instantly got me on a visit here, and I came here, loved him. He's a phenomenal guy, I'm sure, as you've met him. And, yeah, after that, it was just pretty closed book and came here, and everything's been so good so far. So
you've been off the mat for a couple of years at least. Mm-hmm. When you came back, was it like riding a bike, or did it take some getting used to again?
The technique was like riding a bike. The conditioning, on the other hand, does not compare to any other sport, especially even football. You would think after playing a college sport, you're like, oh, I'm in good shape, blah, blah. Wrestling's just different. But last year was a good year, not what I hoped it to be. It was the first year I really dealt with cutting weight to that extent. So while I had success, it wasn't exactly where I needed to be. And this year now I'm like at a good place. So like that. Getting used to the sport, especially in college, because every kid's good. Mm-hmm. Every kid is good to wrestle. Every kid is strong, and that's the biggest thing you have to overcome. And you just kind of wrestle a little bit, and like Coach says, throughout the year you just got to get stronger, better, and better, and better. And that's kind of just what we're working on right now. So,
well, let's dig deeper into last year. Okay, 19-10. You mentioned one of the obstacles is kind of cutting weight and dealing with all that comes with that. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, what other challenges came from getting back on the mat?
Was actually injuries. So the biggest thing I've never dealt with throughout sports is injuries. I've always been just okay, working fine. And last year I just kind of, my body, it's just 4 years away is a long time, and your body has to get used to everything. And, I had some calf injuries, my elbows, my shoulders, just kind of everything throughout the year is the biggest thing. And then when you're cutting so much weight, it's just harder to heal that way. So that was probably the biggest thing. And it was really, on top of that, was the mental aspect of it. Is just you're cutting so much weight. I was probably down in like the very single digits of body fat, etc. And balancing that with school and everything was really tough for me, especially in the winter. But once you finally overcome that and you get like a good groove going and you have your buddies around you, you're all going through it together, your whole team, kind of helps you out and you're like, hey, you're going to be okay. The season's only so long. You'll be just fine. So once you overcome those obstacles, everything gets a little easier. So.
And you were saying from a competition standpoint, it was that much greater now at the collegiate level?
Yeah. I remember my first match back in you have some schools that are powerhouses like the Wisconsins, Eau Claire's and stuff. You have some schools that are a little lower. And in high school, you would sometimes have those matches where you're like, oh, I don't have to worry so much. And I remember starting off our season, it was kind of like that in my head. But you go out there, and it doesn't matter what the school is, every single kid's going to be good. Every single kid. And it was kind of like a wake-up call. And throughout the year, especially with the better guys you wrestle, you're like, oh, this is like serious, like these kids are really good. So you just have to remind yourself of that and build better and work a little harder and everything to get past that.
So after last season, coming back into the off season, how did you go about training, preparing for this year?
Yeah, so last season, especially with how it ended, was a big wake-up call, like, hey, I need to do more. And so it was a lot of working out, building my strength back. And then I went to AWA a little bit here. Okay. I went back home to Joliet, and I wrestled with my coach, Chuck Rumpf, and he let me in kind of around the room and stuff. But it was just mainly working harder, focusing on the things that I'm good at, building my strength up, especially going up a weight class again. And just by incorporating those things and going into the season, like still wrestling and everything, it like really helped me kind of grow into the spot that I am now.
So when the season ended, did you let your body rest a little bit? Did you take a little time off? Did you go right into getting ready for the next season?
Yeah, so I think I took a few weeks off from wrestling. I maybe took like half a week off from lifting. It's very hard for me to sit still, especially in the sport we're in, So it was pretty quick to get back into everything and get working just because wrestling's not just, the 6-7 months that we have. It's full year round, and if you're not in shape, you're going to feel it in the beginning of the season. So it's just, got right back to work and got it going. So.
And what a winter you've had, 24-6, your current record. Are you pleased with where you're at this point?
One more time, sorry.
Are you pleased with where you're at this point?
Yes, but no. I always talk to my coach, and we always say that the wins are cool and the wins are great and everything, but it doesn't matter if the next step doesn't go as planned. And if, this weekend, if I'm not placing top 3, my season's over. So those 24 wins, as great as they are, and I've enjoyed them and enjoying the ride as they've gone, it's the next step. It's focusing on where we are now and not the past or the present, just kind of take it day by day. And like I said, we have regionals this weekend, and if the goal is top 3, and that's my plan, is to make it and go to nationals. And if I can do that, I'm happy, and if I don't, I'm obviously not very happy. But like I said, it's a process, and I love the wins, and I've enjoyed them, and you have to enjoy them for a few days or a moment as you're there. But it's time to start moving on to the next little thing by one.
You talk about that process. How do you feel the team has evolved this season from start to now this current point? How they've, how's it all come together?
Good. So obviously with the success we had last year, this year was a little more disappointing in terms of dual stuff. But if you look in the grand picture, wrestling is a very complicated sport, and there's a lot that goes into it. So while we haven't won a lot of duels this year, a lot of them were very close, and we've never, until this past CCIW tournament, we never had a full lineup. And I know our record doesn't show we were like 2-11 or something like that, but every single match we were close with it. Luther, one of the ranked teams, Milliken, we were there with them, weren't able to get over the hurdle until finally CCIW, and everyone came together, and we placed third over every single team other than Milliken and North Central, and all those teams basically had beaten us in the duel. So just working little by little and seeing everyone's progress throughout the year has been pretty great.
So overcoming that adversity, you mentioned, about a week and a half ago, the CCIW championships, the Falcons placing third. Every Falcon wrestler, at least everyone had a win, at least one win. 4 wrestlers landed in the top 3 of their brackets, including a couple of champions, Jonathan being one of them. You look at your run in that CCIW championship, how do you feel things went for you? What was the key to your success?
I think the key to my success was controlling my emotions. Wrestling throughout the day, coach says it's like a bottle of emotions, and if you drink too much of it, it's going to go too fast. You have to worry about your next match. So it's all about managing your emotions. And I think I'm done a very good job of doing that this year, and that tournament was a good showcase that finally things are starting to fully come together. And match after match, I just stuck to what I know, my game plan, focused on my strong points, my conditioning of just really beating it into another opponent and just enforcing kind of your will on them. And I did that throughout the whole tournament. Pretty much it felt really good. I felt like I dominated through the whole thing. And just by, like I said, focusing on what coach tells me, your emotions and everything is what allowed me to do so well. And then keep control my emotions, my energy and everything through every single match. And then finally at the end of it, you kind of release it all and feel good and everything. But like I said, just little by little and getting through that whole thing was the biggest portion.
They're really cool, as we mentioned, to see everybody on the team contribute in one way or another. As mentioned, every wrestler with at least 8 wins throughout the course of that day in the CCIW Championship. You outscored your opponents 58-6, being named the CCIW Championship's most valuable wrestler. What does that honor mean to you?
It was very unexpected. It's a great honor. It was a euphoric feeling throughout the winning, and then you're sitting there and it's like, hey, you announced this, you're outstanding wrestler over some phenomenal competition in there. You have national champs, etc. You know, North Central is always a very stout program. But as great as all that is, I have to contribute that all to my coach, my teammates and everything. They're the ones who pushed me in the room. Peyton Smith, my brother, Carson, all those guys work and wrestle with me. Coach Cook. I even had Mason Mergener, one of the past wrestlers, come in yesterday. And all those guys have allowed me to continue growing and get there. And without them, I wouldn't be to where I was and perform how I did.
And as you mentioned, now the focus becomes the NCAA Division III Upper Midwest Regionals from Stevens Point Friday and Saturday. Look for that top 3 finish. What do you expect? What do you expect from the competition, the environment? What are you anticipating here this weekend?
I'm expecting to be tough. This regional has always been tough. Last year was tough. I honestly think it is the toughest regional in the entire Division III. And I expect to go in there and battle every single match. No guy's going to take it easy, and I'm not going to take it easy, but I expect myself to go in there and my teammates to do what we did at CCIW, build on it, and wrestle hard and have that outcome that we've worked so hard for. And like I said, I go in there expecting to win, and not as long as I give everything I have, I'll be okay with it. But if I do that, I believe I'll do very well this weekend, along with everyone else.
Just finally, then, we ask all seniors that come on our show this question. Okay, for you, is this it for you now? At the end of the wrestling season, are you done?
Technically, with COVID, I have another year. I've been talking to my coach a little bit, but we're focusing on this year right now. But technically, I do have another year, and we're having little thoughts about it. But we're treating this as maybe it is the last one, and that's kind of how we're going with it at the moment.
Outside of wrestling, what's your degree, and what do you hope to do with it one day?
Yeah, so my degree is in computer science, specifically cybersecurity. Ideally, it's in that cybersecurity sector, but I actually have an internship in Australia this summer, which is pretty cool. So after I do that, I'm going to kind of figure it out once I get back and kind of go from there. It's not looking too far forward, but something within the tech field is what I'm looking for.
You ever been down there?
No, it's the first time. It'll be the first time I leave in June. So.
Oh, very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, all the best to you and the team coming up this weekend at Stevens Point. John, thanks a lot for your time, and continued success.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Jonathan Pullen, kind enough to join us. Our focus in segment number 2 to men's volleyball will be joined by Spencer Herman. Stay tuned. You're tuning in to Falcon Focus, presented by Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin.
I can't imagine being any other profession than an orthopedic surgeon. We have the privilege and we have the responsibility to make people better. We've been fortunate enough to take care of professional athletes. We've also been fortunate enough to take care of our neighbors and friends who trust us to give them back their life.
One of the main reasons I came here was because this is the way healthcare is meant to be delivered. Being devoted exclusively to orthopedic care means that we can focus on delivering specialized care for every patient. And that includes not only the surgeons and the physicians, but also anesthesia, controlling pain, the nurses, and the scrub techs, and everyone in the recovery is dedicated to treating conditions that are very similar for people.
Our tagline is an uncommon focus on you. We think the focus on the patient experience is what sets us apart. Before we make any process or clinical decision at the hospital, we start with the same question. Is this what's best for the patient? If we can't answer yes, we move on to the next idea. Our nurses provide care for no more than 3 patients per shift, whereas other facilities, they might provide care for 7 or even 8 patients per shift. We think this personalized care is what sets us apart from others.
I think that dedication to our patients is our number one focus. And you can technically do a good operation, but if you're not centered on the patient, they're not necessarily going to have a great outcome.
The Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin is physician-owned. It's physician-led. We have the responsibility to make the right decision for every patient. We also have the freedom to make the right decision for every patient.
Physicians and staff collaborate through regular meetings, weekly and monthly, and with a relatively small team, we're able to change the way we do things if we need to tweak something to make it perfect.
The facility specifically was designed so that quality could be measured and maintained and sustained. When you have 7,000 patients a year receive their surgery here, it's important that patient number 1 and patient number 7,000 receive the same care.
We place an extremely high priority on the patient experience here. We send surveys to each and every person that receives care at our hospital. Those survey results come back directly to me. I review them and share them with our senior leadership, as well as the staff and the physicians that provide the care to those patients.
There's almost 5,000 hospitals in the country that are measured. The Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin measures number 1, not number 2, not number 3, not runner-up, number 1 in patient satisfaction in the state of Wisconsin for the last 10 years running.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus, presented by Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin. Our focus shifting now to men's volleyball as we continue with episode 14 here in season number 5 and being joined by senior opposite hitter, that being Spencer Herman. Again, a reminder that after this show, back with you on March the 19th as we take a couple of weeks off for a spring break. But no break for men's volleyball. A couple of matches coming up this week, including tonight up at Marion. And then Thursday, we'll be back here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. They serve up set 1 of the best of 5 at 7 p.m. against Concordia Chicago. But how about your day on Saturday as you became the first player in program history to reach 1,000 career kills? What does that accomplishment mean to you?
I mean, it means a lot. It's something I've been working for. It's been a long time coming. It's taken all 4 years for me to get there, and being the first in the program, it obviously means that it's something that's pretty hard to do. I'm happy that I was able to do it, but I have to say thank you to my teammates who were helping me out the entire way through. I wouldn't have been able to get even 100 kills if it weren't for them drawing blocks and helping me out in games and practices and stuff. Yeah.
When you got that 1,000th kill, did you know that was the 1,000th, or did you find out after?
Yeah, I did know that was the 1,000th. I had a bunch of family there. They were taking videos and cheering and stuff, so it was. I definitely knew, and my coach made sure to point it out too. Yeah.
The countdown was on there against Edgewood, and earlier in the season against Illinois Wesleyan here inside the John Book Fieldhouse, you broke the program record for career digs. And I remember talking to you after that matchup, but how special was that moment for you?
I mean, that was special too, especially doing it here. It's always nice to do it in front of the home crowd instead of an away crowd and some skeleton crew people coming, making the trip out. It means a lot, especially on defense, because that's all pride and discipline, like being in the right spot, knowing that you're in the right spot and you're able to make the play that you need to make.
So in 4 seasons now with Falcon men's volleyball, how do you feel like you've grown as a person, as a player? How has your game maybe changed in that time?
Yeah, I mean, throughout the 4 years, there have been small little things with volleyball that have changed, but really I'm kind of the same player that I have been, just more refined. But where this program really excels is making you a better person, like mentally. Like I'm a lot stronger mentally than I was when I came in here. I feel like I got a good head on my shoulders because I'm able to come through here and get coached by Curtis.
Have you seen in that time different approaches from other teams and how they maybe try to defend you or try to take you out of the equation?
Yeah, every now and then they'll resort to some chirping, try to get me in my own head. That doesn't work too well because I know I know what's going on. They'll try to throw 2 or 3 blockers up in front of me at different times, move defenders around behind, but I like to think that I can see what's going on and I can make the smarter choice and just hit around them.
Has your role changed at all in the 4 years?
Yes. My first couple years, I was really just go and hit the ball, don't really think about anything else because I was an underclassman. There were upperclassmen who could deal with more leadership-esque things, but being an upperclassman and one of the older people on the team for the last couple of years, I've definitely had to take more of a leadership role. And last year that was way more evident than it was this year. This year I've kind of found a happy medium between the two where I'm still able to go out and get a bunch of kills, but I can calm the troops if needed. I can hype them up too. But a lot of that, we got other people on the team that they can get hyped too now, and it's very nice. Very nice to have that role.
Obviously, your time as a Falcon, a number of accolades, your name all over the program's record book, but is there a match or two that maybe stand out among the rest so far and you say, hey, that's been a highlight so far in my time here at Concordia?
I hate to say it because it was a loss, but last year against Dominican, that our playoff game here where we took them to 5 and we ended up losing in 5, that was just a great atmosphere in here. That was a lot of fun to play in. Another game, my first game, it was just it was showing me that college volleyball, it's just at a different level. The ball just moves so much faster from the serve to the set to the spike. It's just the ball's moving, and it showed me that I had a lot to learn still.
From a team standpoint right now, the Falcons with 6 victories, 5 defeats, but winners are 4 consecutive, having only lost 1 set during this win streak. How do you feel like the team is playing, and how has this team been progressing from start to the present?
I think we're just kind of hitting our stride right now. Like, moving into conference, this is right when you want to hit it, too. To start the season with those losses, we were playing ranked opponents.
Yeah.
We were getting ready for this the battle that conference has been so far, and in conference we're 2-0 so far. So I'm just hoping that we can keep that going.
Yeah, you mentioned it. This Falcon team does not shy away from great non-conference, even conference competition. We'll talk about the loaded conference in a moment, but certainly you look at the way the season started, who's who when you look at the schedule, but even the defeat. You look at those non-conference matchups. How do those experiences better this team?
Well, playing against those top teams, Carthage, North Central, Loris, you can just name all the people that we've played. It's just we need to be able to compete and play against people at the higher level if we want to one day be there. And we are right on the outside of it right now. We've taken sets off. So Carthage, North Central, Marymount, 3 ranked teams at the time. We took sets off them, and it's just we need to figure out how to finish those games sometimes, but we're right on the edge there.
Last month, you guys got the opportunity to head out to the Mid-Atlantic. How much fun was that trip?
It was a lot of fun. That was my first time out to D.C., so getting to walk around and visit all those monuments, some museums, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of walking right before some matches, but it was a lot of fun. It's something that I'll definitely remember for a long time.
Did you have a favorite site in D.C.?
The Lincoln Memorial was pretty cool. The Reflection Pond, that was one of the last things that we saw. So it was after an already long day of walking. That was pretty warm. So being able to walk next to the water, cool down a little bit, was pretty nice. When
you think about in your time as a Falcon, you've had some memorable trips. Every year you guys go somewhere pretty unique. Do you have one trip that stands out among the rest?
Well, to go through them, we went to California and Boston my sophomore year, New York last year, and then D.C. this year. I mean,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, those are some pretty good destinations with some pretty good volleyball there, too. I'd say New York was probably my favorite just because it was another place that's a first for me. I've never been to New York. We got to do all the Times Square and stuff. We got to go see the Brooklyn Nets facility. That was pretty cool. It was just a fun trip with a good group of guys.
As mentioned, on top of that, then you get the great competition that you don't often see back here in the Midwest. But speaking of great competition, how about the conference? Just how good is the NAC when it comes to men's volleyball?
It's definitely good. We always seem to have a bunch of battles when we play in the NAC. Other teams from other conferences, they have trouble with the NAC too. It's just it's one of those established conferences that always has multiple people who could take any game, any night.
And currently the Falcons are 2-0 in league play with sweeps of St. Norbert also coming through with that sweep against Edgewood from the Edge Dome on Saturday. When you look at that matchup on Saturday, what did you feel was the difference in the win against the Eagles?
It was our serve and pass game. We served very well. I feel like overall we passed very well too. I think we had one of our lowest missed serves count of the year so far, and that's something that we're trying to work on. It was really the serve and pass game, that first contact, trying to get them out of system so they limit their own options, so we know where the ball's going better and we can block.
So 11 matches in, would you say that serve has been one of the big strengths of this team, or what is the strength of this team in your opinion?
The strength of this team is probably our ability to rally around each other and around the cause of trying to win. Serving is up and down. We have our games. I think we are a very, very good blocking team, though. We're very, very disciplined at the net, and I'd say we're scrappy, too. We're able to just pick almost anything up on defense as long as we're locked in and focused.
When you take a look at the roster, a lot of experience up and down this list. How's the team chemistry?
Team chemistry is amazing. It's pretty much the same squad from last year. We got one freshman and one grad student transfer. Other than that, we've all played with each other for at least 1 year. Most of us more than that. We got a pretty big junior class. Only one senior, one fifth year. So we've just played with each other for so long that we know each other so well. We've gone on all these trips together. It's not really a team anymore. It is a family.
And you mentioned a couple of newcomers. They've been fitting in nicely.
Yeah. We got one guy, Matt. He's our grad transfer. He's kind of the team dad because he's one of the old ones now. So, and then we got one freshman who's from a high school of some other guys. His name's Zach. Zach, great guy. He comes in the gym every day and he works real hard. He's someone to get along with, definitely.
Back at setter is Logan Kebasek. How in sync are you two?
Very in sync. He's one of my best friends on the team. We just have that connection. We've had it since he's gotten here. We haven't really had to put in a ton of extra work to dial that in. We have put in a lot of work to make sure it's there, but it's just something about him that he's my guy.
What's it like to play alongside guys like you have Lucas Barras back, you have libero Parker Pearson, you have outside hitter Tate Miller. Guys are just finding ways to get it done.
Yeah, they're all dogs. Lucas, he's one of the best middles in the conference. He just gets up there and blocks the ball, hits it. He does whatever he needs to do. He's our hype man. Parker, he's one of the best passers probably in the NAC, maybe even in the country. He is a very, very good passer. He's put in a lot of work too early this year, last year. He loves the sport and he wants to get better at it. Tate's real good too. He can put up a huge block. He can pass. He can hit. He's exactly what you want in an outside. I just love the team.
And right now, when you look at your numbers, you not only lead the team, but you also lead the conference at 4.39 kills per set. You're hitting around 267. Do you like where your game's at right now?
Obviously, it can be a little cleaner. This is one of my lower hitting percentages in my time here, but that comes with the added pressure. Like, people know that the ball's going to come to me, and they know that I'm going to be the one trying to get a lot of kills, so they're putting more blocks in front of me. But I'd say I'm pretty happy with it because almost 5 kills per set, that's pretty nice, yeah.
You talked about it, too, earlier, talking about, your role as the years have gone on now, taking more of a leadership, responsibility with this group and with all the experience. Do you have to say a lot to these guys? Like, okay, if you fall behind, you guys just know, like, is it one of those where you've been through it over the years that you just know how to respond?
Yeah, it's definitely something that you gain as you play volleyball longer. You know how to respond to the different adversities that you're going to face within a set, within a match, going down a set, something like that. There's definitely stuff that you can say and that I do like to say, like, if we're not passing well, it's, hey, get us one pass, let us side out, let's get in a serving run. If we lose a set, it's a lot of the time this year when we lose a set, it's because of our own errors. So we know, like, hey, we lost that set, but we clean it up in the next one and we got them the next 3.
And it seems like this is a team that even if you do drop that opening set, you guys get better as the matchup goes on.
Yeah, we're a little tentative to start games, and that's something that can hopefully be improved in the coming weeks, coming months. It's just as we settle in and we find our groove, we realize and remember how good of volleyball players we are, and we can get the job done.
Conference play again resumes this week with a couple of matchups tonight at Marion at 7 o'clock and then returning home to host Concordia Chicago on Thursday at 7 p.m. here inside the John Book Fieldhouse. Your thoughts on the week ahead for the Falcons?
It's going to be a tough one. Every week in the NAC is a tough one. We got Marion, who historically they've had our number. I'm hoping to knock one off them tonight. And then we got CUC at home on Thursday. That's going to be a good game right before spring break. Hopefully we can pack the gym. Get loud and rowdy, and get another win.
It seems like in the NAC, too, when we talk about the conference that is, and you have your traditional teams that are ranked on an annual basis that have their successful years. But even the teams near the bottom have made those steps, and they're starting to, gain some momentum. And all of a sudden, like you said, there isn't that cupcake opponent any longer.
Yeah, teams a couple of years ago, for like a first-year program like WLC, that was a game where my freshman year, their first year, I think one of our guys broke a service ace record against them, but that kind of stuff isn't going to happen anymore. We have a really solid conference. We have a really solid non-conference schedule as well. We don't really have those games anymore where we can just sleepwalk through them.
To wrap things up, talking about you and being a senior, is this it for you then for men's volleyball when the season comes to an end?
Yes, it is. Yep.
So what's your major and what do you hope to do with it one day?
I'm an actuarial science major, and I'm hoping to be an actuarial analyst one day. Right out of college, I'm probably going to try to find a job in the underwriting field.
Okay.
So if you know anything.
I was going to say,
let me know.
explain what that is.
It's a lot of statistics and stuff, data analytics, figuring out the odds and probabilities of certain things. One of the main applications is for insurance.
Okay.
So like determining how much to charge people for different types of insurance based on different statisticals about them. Yeah.
Keep it low.
Yeah.
Keep it low, please.
I'll try my best.
I appreciate that. Spencer, as always, I appreciate your time. All the best this week to you and the Falcons.
Thank you.
And again, you can see him in person here inside the John Book Fieldhouse on Thursday, 7 o'clock. They serve up set one of best of 5 against Concordia Chicago. That will do it for Falcon Focus. Thanks to both of our guests. We'll do it again on Tuesday, the 19th of March. It's Falcon Focus presented by Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin.